Hello, beautiful creatures of the interweb. I'm Kate, and I've been single for half of a decade. Yeet. Yeet. I have been single for 5 years now, so half of a decade, quite some time. No relationships, no romantic feelings, no romantic contact. Like nothing, not even so much as like a crush, a handhold, or even like someone I text. Like no one, nothing, dusty, nada, solo, happy as you know. And I've learned a lot. I have grown a lot, and I have healed a lot from those 5 years of just flying solo and being on my own. So I figured I'd talk to you and share with you what I've learned in my own personal experience on being single for 5 years and what I've kind of like gathered or taken away from it. And I wanted to share it for Valentine's Day because I never see videos on YouTube about being single on Valentine's Day. They always have the ones that are like what to do when you're single on Valentine's Day, and it's like the face mask, the bath bomb, da 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 da, whatever, which is great. That's fine. That's what I do every year. It's actually what I'm doing today while we talk, minus the bath. You're not going to see me in the tub, you pervert. So it's what we're doing. We're going to talk about flying solo. This is also going to be the first episode, or like, I'm gonna call it episode because it sounds cooler than like the first video of a series. I don't know, I just like the way episode sounds. The first episode of Coffee Chronicles, which is a series I'm gonna have on my channel, so you should definitely subscribe and stick around and see the other topics that we will be talking about. Coffee Chronicles is basically gonna be English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
English, mother. Do you speak it?
Coffee Chronicles is basically going to be me sitting down with a cup of coffee and talking to you about some kind of subject or tips, advice, experiences, just stuff like that, different things. It's just going to be sitting down with a cup of coffee, a good old chitty chatty video talking to you about something that I'm passionate about. So, and I'm not wearing makeup because I thought I would share this information with you while I rub seaweed and rose juice all over my face. So that's what I'm gonna do. I guess I should pull my hair back. I have my mom's head, so these things are usually pretty tight and they're a little bit small. It's because I got a big brain full of lots of information about being single. Ah! Oh, you know what? I should tuck my ear in. How do I know what eyeball this goes on? I guess I should start with why I've been single for so long. As shocking as this may be, nothing's wrong with me. I think that's actually both of them. Did I already? That was two of them. I was wondering why that was so thick. I've been single for 5 years because when I was in high school, I had 3 relationships. 2 out of the 3 were actually like more serious relationships. They were really bad. And if you're one of those 2 people, what are you doing here? Why are you watching? Go, shoo, away with you. They weren't healthy, they weren't safe, they weren't good for my mental health. They were really bad relationships. I was going back and forth between these people I was comfortable with because I knew it would end and I knew I wouldn't have to like commit or open up fully. So I would like self-sabotage by dating these people that were really bad for me and really bad to me. But that was 5 years ago. They're probably different people now. I don't know, I don't keep up. After that, after getting out of high school, I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on myself because clearly if I'm choosing relationships that are bad for me, I need to work on myself, heal myself, and figure out why am I accepting this, because it's not okay, it's not healthy. That's just as much me as it is them at that point, because I'm choosing this person that hurts me over and over again. So, got out of high school and I spent these past 5 years just flying solo, being on my own. And by taking this time to actually like look inwards and start reevaluating myself and my own life, I learned it's okay to be single, which I know sounds like no Kate, like yeah, it's okay to be single. There's this weird stigma that if you're not in a relationship then something's wrong with you, or you must be really lonely, or you must be sad because you're single, and that's not the case at all. Especially I've noticed in older generations, the boomers, they put this weird like pressure on you to be in a relationship. Like even now when I go to family events, like family gatherings and stuff, people are asking like, well, where's your boyfriend? Or why don't you have someone? Or why aren't you dating? And da-da-da-da. It's like, because I don't need to. Like, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm focusing on myself. I'm going to college. So the first thing that I kind of learned is that it's actually fine to be single, and it's okay to break that weird boomer stigma that you have to be in a relationship to be happy. And that's not cool. It's annoying. And I kind of realized that some people are like so afraid to be alone, and that's also not healthy either. I was throwing myself back in these relationships that I knew were going to end really badly. I knew weren't healthy to be in, but I was so afraid to just be on my own or be by myself that I was okay, and I was choosing to get hurt, and I was choosing for my trust to be like obliterated, and I was choosing to be disrespected because I was afraid to be by myself. Again, not healthy. And I think a lot of people these days will actually lower their standards or be with people that they know aren't good for them just because they would rather say that they have someone or say that they're in a relationship than just be on their own and grow on their own. So that's another thing that I kind of not only like learned while being single, but also like I observed other people in my life. I also realized that being alone kind of allows more space and more time and more effort on working on yourself and healing. The past 5 years, it took me about 2.5 years before I actually started saying like, you know what, I need to heal. For the longest time I was sitting there and I was kind of like, well, this happened to me and this happened to me, and I went into like these 2.5 years of depression where I laid at home all the time, and I was just so sad because of everything that I've been through, and I wasn't doing anything to heal myself with it. I wasn't doing things that made me happy to kind of cope, or I wasn't talking to anyone. So being single for so long, I finally learned the importance of healing and the importance of just taking care of yourself and putting your mental health first, which I feel like is very important, and I wouldn't have learned had I been distracted by relationships. I also learned being single for so long that I wanted to evaluate my standards. I set my standards really low because I had poor self-esteem. I was really broken and damaged on the inside. So I was settling for people who would hurt me because my standards, I didn't want to put them too high. I was afraid that maybe no one would meet my standards and I would be alone. And over the past few years, I've learned there's nothing wrong with having high standards, because you don't want to lower your standards and settle for someone who doesn't meet you halfway or doesn't give you what you're looking for in a relationship. And that also took me a really long time to learn, especially with people in my family. Like, people would tell me my standards were too high. I feel like being faithful and truthful and just being someone's like best friend before a lover, if that's too much to ask, I don't want it. I don't want that. So there's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, and I feel like that's really true when it comes to relationships and just in life in general. With my previous relationships, I could never fully open up to someone because I was an empty cup. I was hurting on the inside. I had a low self-esteem. I was really depressed and just in a dark place, and because of that, I couldn't be with someone that I could actually open up to. So you can't pour from an empty cup is the perfect saying, because if you don't have enough love for yourself and like self-respect, you can't expect someone else to have that back to you, you know? I kind of realized you can't properly love others until you love yourself. And I know there's some people that are like, well, no, that's not true. I can love someone and give them everything and I hate myself. That's not healthy. I don't recommend that. You should, at the end of the day, decide to love yourself first before pouring your love into other people. You can't pour from an empty cup. So by being single for so long and by realizing that it's actually okay to be single, I realized that no one should complete you. Someone should compliment you. And I don't mean like tell you you look pretty or like your hair looks great or whatever. I mean, no one should complete you. You should be complete on your own, happy on your own, love yourself on your own. You should be complete on your own without anyone else. But if you do get into a relationship, you should be with someone who complements your morals, complements your way of life, complements your thoughts, like someone who is an equal to you instead of a puzzle piece that completes you. Because so many people are looking for someone to make them feel whole. You shouldn't find someone to fill gaps within yourself. You should work on those gaps on your own. You should be complete on your own. You should be whole on your own. You shouldn't need someone else to do that for you. That's another thing I learned. Bean juice make the brain think. And kind of piggybacking on the whole, like, you should fill your own void. When I stopped seeking approval and validation from other people, I started to actually kind of find myself and love myself more, because I was choosing to be or to do the things that I wanted, the things that I loved and I enjoyed, instead of only doing it for other people's opinions. An example of this is when I started dating one person, I found myself dressing a certain way and kind of listening to music that I wouldn't normally listen to on my own, but I was doing it because they did it and I wanted them to kind of think that like I was cool like that, but it wasn't me. And I was doing stuff to try to get validation from this guy that I liked. Spoiler alert, it never does good for either your mental health or in like the physical world. It never does good for you to be someone you're not just to please someone else. It doesn't end well, never does. Or you make yourself miserable doing it, don't. I also noticed with this that I started to lose people in my life. I started losing like friends, or people were like, oh, you've changed. And I was like, I'm becoming who I want to be. And because that doesn't benefit you in any way anymore, you don't want any part of it. Instead of being clay that someone else could mold into whatever they wanted, I started to be a pillar, like a marble pillar for my own life, and standing strong in what I wanted to do and being who I wanted to be. When you start to find yourself and you start to do the things that you enjoy, the people who aren't right for you or the friends that aren't right for you, they're gonna fade away, and it's gonna suck, but it's gonna be better for you in the long run, because if you're finding yourself, the right people should respect that, love that, and still be there, you know? Another thing I learned being single was it's okay to say no, which again sounds so stupid, but when I was in a relationship, I felt like, well, I can't say no to this person because we're dating. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not want to do something. I don't mean just with like the sexuals with this, I just mean with anything. One of my exes liked to party a lot, and every now and then, like, it's fun every now and then, but it wasn't something that I liked to do. It's okay to say like, I don't want to go to that party. That's not my thing. And it's okay to say, I don't want to do that because I'm not ready. I don't want to be this person because it's not who I am. And I used to feel so guilty. Like, you shouldn't feel guilty for saying no. You shouldn't feel guilty for not wanting to do something, no matter what it is. You shouldn't feel guilty. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And I never had that mindset before until I spent so much time on my own. It's okay to say no, and it's okay to be selfish. And I don't mean like selfish in a bad way, but it's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to say like, I don't want to do this just because I don't want to do it, therefore I'm not. And that's completely fine. It's okay to say no, it's okay to be selfish, and it's okay to have high standards. Parts of this face mask are drying and it's like tight. I also learned with being single for so long that it's really important in everyone's life, whether you're in a relationship or not, to be comfortable in your own company. The only person you are 100% like fact you're going to be with forever, no matter what, is yourself. You will always be stuck with you. So if you're not comfortable in your own company, you should work on that. You should reevaluate. Like, I'm my own best friend. I trust myself. I got my back. I am completely fine in solitude or isolation. I mean, I wouldn't say isolation. That's a bit much. Being single for so long, I saw how empowering it is to just be able to work on my own dreams and goals and ambitions, and how empowering it feels to know that I can be on my own and be alone and be happy and be completely fine with it. It's so empowering to be like, you know what? I don't think we should be friends anymore or talk or whatever because you're not good for my mental health. Like, I need to focus on me. I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna head out. This face mask is getting so tight Oh, that looked like a booger. That's cute. I've learned so much being single, and I'm not saying like, oh, you have to be single to learn all this. Their relationships are bad, or you need to just YOLO, bitch. Like, you can learn any of this being in a relationship. You can learn any of this being single. But I didn't learn it until I spent so long on my own. It was almost like this weird fog was like lifted from my head, and when it lifted, I saw like all these wounds, emotional scars and stuff all over me that I was like, I'm hurt and I need to fix this, and no one else is around to fix it. I need to fix it on my own. I need to depend on myself, and I did. And this is what I learned from it. This is what I've gathered. And this morning, it's kind of funny. This morning when I was shuffling my oracle deck, these 4 cards fell out, and I was looking at them, and I was like, I'm keeping these out because I want to talk about them in the video. And the 4 cards that fell out were the Phoenix, the Horse, the Lion, and the Swan. And the reason I want to talk about them, and I'm gonna read like parts of the little book that it comes with, just so that way it like really hits the point. Ew, it's falling all over my lap. I don't know if you can see. Ready? That was a mistake. I'm gonna go wash this off, and then I'm gonna read the cards. Under my eye is red from the eye mask. I don't know why. It doesn't burn, it doesn't itch, it doesn't feel tight or anything. Like, it's fine. It's just really red because my skin's sensitive. My skin is really sensitive. Back to the tarot, or actually oracle. These 4 cards popped out: the Swan, the Lion, the Horse, and the Phoenix. I feel like they couldn't be more perfect, especially because today I'm filming this video. Being single and spending time by yourself it's Phoenix energy, you know? Like, it's transformation, it's rebirth, it's starting over. When you do spend time on your own, or spend time self-reflecting, or in your own company, you're kind of like, in a way, you're reborn. It's like rising up from the ashes and becoming who you want to be. So this was perfect. I also got a second cup of coffee because this is a coffee chronicle, therefore it's an excuse to drink obscene amounts of coffee, and it's okay because it's for the video. Then we have the Horse. Horse energy is all about like freedom and expansion, and like the wide, vast expansion of new terrain. When you're single, you have this like different kind of freedom. You have this different kind of expansion and ability. And I'm gonna read a little part of the first part from the book. The horse provides us with momentum so reliable, so supportive that you can ride on its back towards any goal, no matter how difficult the terrain. A horse personality is fully awakened, fully alive, and cannot be defeated. Horse energy is like single energy. You're free, but you're stable and sturdy. And like how the book said, no matter how rough the terrain, no matter what's going on, you know that you always like have your own back, and you know that you're safe in your own arms. I mentioned earlier how being single for so long, you start to learn how to be like a solid pillar for yourself instead of being clay that other people can mold. Then we have the Swan, which again, the Swan, completely perfect for like a singles video. I'm gonna read from the book a part of it, but it says the Swan represents heightened creativity. The Swan is ready to take you to that creativity, to the fluid realm of writing, creating, and reflecting. This potent and healing energy is not to be taken for granted or taken lightly. When the Swan card appears, your soul is calling for attention for solo time. It literally says that. For solo time. And then even here at the bottom, solo time. When you're single in general, you have so much time for self-reflection or self-transformation and becoming self-reliant, self-dependent. Like, these cards couldn't have been more perfect. Oh my god! Even the Lion card, when you read it in the book, it talks about self-transformation. It talks about being confident and like that Leo energy, regal, royal, I'm 100% that bitch energy, you know? I'm 100% that bitch, even when I'm reading tarot. It literally says, a lion personality dedicates their life to personal and spiritual growth. This dedication inspires some and intimidates others. Therefore, the lion is respected by all and known intimately by a few. Some mistake the lion as hard to access or aloof, yet those with a keener eye know better. This card reminds us that self-mastery is available to all, no matter where our quests begin. This is literally talking about self-mastery. And even when it says that some mistake the lion as aloof or hard to access, with the high standards, how I was talking about earlier, people say like if you have high standards, then you're cutting yourself off to all these options and stuff. And it's like, well, actually, I'm not going to waste my time with someone who doesn't meet my standards and who doesn't give me what I want out of a relationship, and therefore they don't get to know me like that. If they can't like step up their game or be what I want someone to be, they don't get to know me on that personal level. I'm not opening up to someone if they don't meet my standards. I'm not wasting my time. And if that makes me look aloof, that's fine. If that makes me look hard to access, that's fine. So when these cards came out about like finding yourself and transforming into who you want to be, rising from the ashes, healing, like coming out of bad situations and transforming it into something positive, something better, and finding yourself. And then also the cards about like being strong and independent and stable with yourself. How this one literally talked about solo time for self-mastery, spending solo time for self-mastery. I thought that was crazy. I was literally like, wow. Thank you for joining me on this very first Coffee Chronicles and just kind of talking about being single and what I've learned being single. Side note, I also want to add on my Instagram page, I have a whole highlight where it's just music and I put like updated music on what I've been listening to. I'm going to do like a short little singles playlist or playlist for singles or whatever you want to call it. So if you want to see that, hop over to my Instagram. I will leave it linked below and my little @ thing below. And yeah. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and leave in the comments below any topics that you would like me to discuss on the next Coffee Chronicles, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Get out me swamp! Maybe I've been single because I look like Shrek crying stars with kitty ears. Damn it, Mom, why do you got a big head and why'd you birth me? That's why I've been single, actually. Why did I get a white cat ear one? Why didn't I get the black cat? Why didn't I rep you, Hysteria?